Stay tuned to Cardinal Television. Commotion's coming up next. Welcome to Commotion, Cardinal Television's pop culture debate show. I'm your guest host, Chris Murray. If this is your first time watching, the rules are simple. 3 panelists will be given 5 different topics to rant, rave, and debate about. At the end of the show, a winner will be chosen by yours truly and allowed 30 seconds to talk about anything they want. So without further ado, let's meet tonight's panelists. First up, we have CTV's poster child, Jake Tinker. Then we have CTV's Vice President, James Bailey. And finally, we have Caitlin Murphy, CTV's President. Now let the commotion begin. As we all know, November is famous for the cancer awareness campaign, No Shave November. People around the world put away their razors and scissors for the whole month and let their hair grow. But on the topic of facial hair, who has the best facial hair? Also, what facial hairstyle is best? Caitlin, we'll start with you.
I have to say, out of all the people, I think the person I've seen with the best facial hair is Chris Evans when he's got his natural dark brown hair and he's got that beard come in. I think it looks good. I like that rugged, I don't want to say mountain man kind of thing, but clean cut.
We're not going to say lumberjack. We don't want to be
No lumberjack. No.
Sure.
But
okay.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. James.
I probably really annoyed my mom if I said my dad. So I'll go past that. I'm a big sports guy. I really like the playoff beards in hockey. I like the athletes that go out there and say, I'm not going to shave till we win a championship. I know Jake already had to just shaved his beard on the Cubs. We'll get to that one later. But I think the player that's been most successful that's known for his beard, I think, is James Harden on the Rockets.
Okay.
He's got the whole Fear the Beard thing going. All the fans wear the T-shirts with his beard on it, and that combined with his cooking, I think that's
sure.
It's a good personality.
If you can get shirts on a whole campaign,
I mean, it's a great thing.
It's got to be a thing,
Yeah.
Tank.
I agree with James in sports, but the original Fear the Beard, Brian Wilson, the closer of the San Francisco Giants, I mean, he was the original Fear the Beard, and while they were just making the entire playoff run, so it's just when you have the Fear the Beard originally.
See, but I have to disagree with. I think James Harden's beard kind of came along right around that same time, and James Harden's endured. When's the last time Brian Wilson played in the MLB?
I'll give you that, but it was more just here's a guy throwing 95 miles an hour, has the sick beard, Fear the Beard.
I think the James Harden one is a little better story too, because he hasn't won the championship yet, right? So now we get to see is he going to shave it after they win? I mean, there's a lot of other storylines that come with the James Harden beard.
All right.
All right. Well, we covered celebrities. But now, if we're talking about professors here at St. John Fisher,
that's tough.
What kind of facial hair are we looking at here?
Oh, man.
That's rough. I mean, there's
Dr. Rosenberry and his mustache.
Yeah, I mean that's a classic. I'm just thinking in the con department. You got the beard of Professor Sarakin. It's kind of a transition from just the goatee to kind of now the full beard. I like the full beard look. It's like the more professor look, I think now. I mean, it's tough to choose. I will say I like Professor Sarakin's the full beard, like the especially when he wears like the sport jacket and stuff like that. I mean, he has like the perfect professor look, I think.
Okay,
with it.
excellent.
I agree with that. You just see that during our intro class, and you just think that guy's here to profess. We now have the big room in PIAC 101, and it kind of just looks like that surround, and he just kind of loves being the professor in that room.
Now, he retired last year, but did any of you have the pleasure of having Dr. White?
Dr. White
David White.
Dr. White was a great guy. His beard, but he kind of like the George Lucas look kind of going on.
Not quite Santa, but
no, somewhere in between there. Yeah, Dr. White was good, but he also just kind of sat in the back of the class and never did anything.
Well,
so.
Sure, you didn't really get a lot of face time with him.
No, I mean that's Dr. White. And I think Fisher lost a very important part of the community when they lost Dr. White last year. But yeah, I would agree. Dr. White's that beard was definitely a staple of Fisher for a little while.
Absolutely. Now I'm looking at the panel and nobody's got beards. What's going on?
Yeah, I can't grow up a good enough one to It's one of those the in between beard doesn't look good, and I'm on Fisher Wall Focus every week.
And honestly, I shaved mine last night. I should have kept it. I'm sorry.
What's your excuse?
My excuse is that pretty much almost everyone in my family is cursed with a baby face. My oldest brother, actually all 3 of my brothers now have beards, but they had to work at them for a really long time. The 2 oldest are 30, but if they shaved, they'd look like they're 20 again. My youngest brother is growing his out because he's reached that age where if he doesn't have it, he's just going to start looking younger and younger. So by the time he's 25, 26, he's still going to look 20.
All right, well, I hear it. Well, who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to break that genetic curse you got there.
No,
All
it
right,
looks
well,
awful.
good discussion. We'll move on to our second topic. On Tuesday, the presidential election finally came to a close. Despite how you feel about the victor and what they will do for our country, we all will have to say goodbye to the Obama family. So, we can obviously hope that he'll move on to other political positions, but as a TV production club, we'd love to see Obama work somewhere in Hollywood. So, panelists, I would love for you to pitch for us your ideal Obama TV show. James, we'll start with you this time.
Okay, so I sat down, I really thought about it, and I thought that...
It's got credits and everything.
Yeah, I put some odd thought into this. I think that Seinfeld would be good, the show about nothing, because really the last 4 years, nothing was able to get done. Important. But if I was just going down the cast, Obama's Jerry, obviously. I think that Biden fits more as a Kramer than a George. I have down Bernie Sanders as George, just really more for being the short guy with like the hair, with like the bald spot, stuff like that. I bounced around a lot of people for Elaine. I think that Elizabeth Warren probably would be the Elaine in this situation. Mitch McConnell is Newman, obviously, and then this one is one that you have to kind of see to kind of get. But I think Eric Holder as Jackie Childs that'd be the best fit there.
Gotcha. So you went for like a recasting of a...
Oh yeah, I think that if you were just... Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you go with the president, and he's an entertaining guy. I think that he would definitely be able to make it in here. But I think if they were able to remake Seinfeld with this cast, I think that it would be definitely very interesting to watch.
Interesting. Tink.
See, my idea is more of a survival, returning a desolate wasteland. You know, the land's now been destroyed by President Trump and his nuclear fallout, and only one man can save this country. It's former President Barack Obama, as he just journeys across this desolate wasteland, almost kind of like similar to when Luke Skywalker's kind of traveling across the desert wasteland in the beginning of Star Wars, the fourth movie. He's just kind of gathering people around, and he's trying to rebuild the community and really just fix what Donald Trump screwed up in this world.
So who are we going to see on that cast of characters?
You'll see Obama. You'll see Bernie Sanders as his wise mentor, who kind of just gives him that wise, sage advice. You'll obviously see the Obama family traveling with them. Maybe a couple of celebrities that survived. Maybe an Adam Sandler makes an appearance too.
Adam Sandler.
How is Biden on it? I feel like Biden and Obama are like a package deal. How have you not cast Joe Biden in?
I was just about to get Joe Biden there. He'd kind of just be there. He'd be
Kind of just be there.
You're not giving Joe Biden a big enough of a role.
I feel like Biden is he's important, but at the same time, you haven't talked about him in a while, and people kind of just said, you know what, he'd be a good president just for the plain simple fact he stepped away from it all. So I feel like that's what he'd be in season one. He'd be this important character.
Seasons.
Yeah, it gets seasons.
You're already writing seasons.
That is how confident
We got
I
to
am
get
in
to
the show.
Caitlin here.
All right, I think my pitch, I personally would like to see a road trip documentary with Obama and
Very
Biden.
interesting.
Because let's be real, Barack Obama and Joe Biden are friendship goals. Like, if I had someone who I could lead the country with and braid friendship bracelets with the next day, that is life right there. And I would just like to see them traveling our country, Joe Biden trading Ray-Bans after every state line they go to. I would just absolutely love to see a road trip documentary with them and see what that entails.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I think that would be interesting. It'd be kind of like more of like a later season Key and Peele type of thing.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
And that would
yeah.
actually fit better. Then you could actually get more people in there. If you did it like a kids show, you could just it'd be Obama and Biden, and then just everyone else. That'd be good. I think that the government is kind of like a circus. I think that they would definitely be able to fill out the rest of those roles pretty well.
Well, awesome. I'm glad we got three very different show pitches I did. I think we got maybe have to make a couple phone calls here. Well, looks like our panelists are getting warmed up. Let's see if they can keep the energy high after this break.
Maybe he's really focused.
Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today.
Welcome back to Commotion. Without further ado, let's get the show started. The new Marvel film, Doctor Strange, was released last week and has been successful among fans and critics. But our question is, will you see the movie, and what is the best superhero movie of all time? Tink, we'll start with you.
I think I'll definitely see the movie. I've seen a lot of the Marvel movies, obviously ones like Iron Man, Hulk, The Avengers. But if I had to pick a favorite, I gotta say it's Iron Man, just for the plain simple fact that Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark just did an amazing job, and I just you gotta love a sarcastic main character, and just what he was able to do. He basically got blown up, gets a new heart, and then just basically destroys his capturers.
Excellent. Kate?
I have not seen Doctor Strange yet. I have not figured out if I'm going to see it or not. It's nothing against the plot. The plot seems interesting. Benedict Cumberbatch just isn't personally my favorite kind of actor. But I'd have to say the best superhero movie I've seen is Captain America: Civil War. It's the third Captain America movie, and the reason I like that movie so much is it's not just a superhero movie where you can have fun and like watch Iron Man and Captain America fight each other, but it's so nice. I like how the director can translate it into real life, because the overall arcing story is Captain America wants them to have complete control over themselves, while Tony Stark wants government regulation over the superheroes. And I just think it's interesting how the Russo brothers were able to make a movie that simultaneously is a fun, awesome action superhero movie, but that also applies to a huge debate that we have in our lives today. And I just thought I liked the textual area of that part.
Excellent. We got Chris Evans in there as well.
Yes.
Can't go wrong. James?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge superhero movie guy. I probably won't see Doctor Strange because I just don't care. But if I were to pick one, I'd probably have to switch universes a little bit. I'd probably go DC, and I'd probably go with Dark Knight Rises of Batman. The original Dark Knight was really good, but I like the wrap up of things. Like, I'm also a guy that would say I like Jedi more than Empire if you're talking about Star Wars. Like, I like the last one where like the story comes together, and that was what Dark Knight Rises did for me. You know, the emotional one when it looked like Batman kind of went out there and sacrificed himself for the good of Gotham, and you know, I just when he maybe he's still alive. You know, there was so many like cliffhangers and stuff like that. Just the acting in it. Bane was great. Tom Hardy did a great job as Bane. I really enjoyed that film. It really, as being not a superhero guy, that run really kind of hit home for me.
So you definitely consider yourself a DC over Marvel kind of guy?
I wouldn't say that in general, because I also done. I don't know if we were gonna debate between like if I was gonna say my favorite Marvel one, it would have been Iron Man. Like I said, like I don't really have a lot of stake either way. I like watching movies that are good movies, so I wouldn't really be able to get into the debate at all. I just know that was one that I definitely can. And plus, I like that Batman's kind of like a normal guy, you know, like I could be Batman, you know, and that's awesome. I would like the Batmobile. I'd like to just. It's a cool thing.
And Tank, what about you? DC, Marvel?
I'd go Marvel. DC movies are a little darker, but I mean, it kind of depends from movie to movie. Like, I didn't like Batman versus Superman.
Okay.
But
nobody liked Batman versus Superman.
Correct.
But I liked Captain America: Civil War.
Right.
So I mean, it just seems like Marvel's done a better job of churning out better movies involving the superhero.
Yeah, they definitely seem bigger blockbuster kind of movies.
I think Thor was probably the exception with like Marvel. Just didn't like the Thor movies.
Okay.
I would just have to also put out a disclaimer that Iron Man is the only film I have seen of the Marvel movies, so I really can't like make a big.
But I think that's a big thing about Marvel too. I'm personally on the Marvel side of DC versus Marvel. I enjoy both, but I think Marvel succeeds in the fact that it doesn't take itself too seriously, so it can do these like plot signs, like Guardians of the Galaxy. They had a raccoon in there and nobody questioned it. I think DC's downfall with Batman versus Superman is they took themselves way too seriously for a comic adaptation, and so it mistranslated to those people who didn't so much watch the comics but only went for the superhero movie. So I think Marvel can succeed in not only having good writing and good filming, but they take themselves seriously, but not too seriously where they can't have that humor and that like silly action that we all love in comic books.
All right, awesome. Well, excellent analysis among the three panelists. We'll move on to our next question. The Chicago Cubs won the World Series for the first time in over 100 years. Was this a shock? And what did you make of the game? Caitlin, we'll start back with you.
I thought that this was an extremely exciting game. I thought it was just a 100% real, fun baseball game. I mean, both me and my roommate stayed up and watched the entire thing, and I generally don't do that very often. And I don't know, it was kind of cool to see. Either way, if either team had won, the underdog would have won, because neither one of them had won the World Series in very long. But I was rooting for the Cubs because, like I said, it's been 100 years since they had won. And it was insane not for them just to win, but for them to win like the way they did at the very last minute and extra innings. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad I stayed up for it. It was definitely a really good time in history to be a part of.
Awesome. James?
Yeah, it was really memorable. I was going more for Cleveland for the whole Cleveland momentum thing. I mean, Cleveland this Cleveland really needed this. I mean, Chicago has had like Michael Jordan's like that. Like they've had good things happen. Like Cleveland got the Cavs to win, but that's about the only good thing that's happened to Cleveland in a long time. But yeah, it was great. Like I was counting the Cubs completely out of it. Excuse me, I was counting the Indians completely out of it until Rajay Davis hits that home run. I was really hoping for Alex Chapman would blow it. I like to point out that it's November 10th and Zach Britton's still sitting in the bullpen, so I was a little salty that the Orioles never had a chance to really even make it there. So I was kind of hoping that the same pitching mistakes would be made and that Buck Showalter wouldn't go down as the biggest moron. And as it turned out, it worked out for Joe Madden. And I really just want to hold Theo Epstein. He said he was going to go on like a long winter bender until like the winter meetings, and I'm kind of want to hold him to it. He's kind of like looked like he's keeping to it thus far, but I want to see Theo Epstein just like party like nonstop like months. He deserves it.
Think?
I think this was definitely a really exciting game. It's definitely the best World Series I've seen since I started watching baseball. So that's probably been about 13, 14 years now. So it's definitely been the best World Series. It made it to the Game 7. And usually you get to baseball and it's Game 7, and that's probably been some of the worst games ever. You know, it's just been blowouts. It's just been non-competitive. So the fact that there were so many change in momentums, you know, there was a point where I thought, oh my God, Cleveland's going to take over this game and blow it out. And then Chicago came back. It was just a back and forth affair. So that's what made it so great.
And I think that's what was like it was almost like movie-like. Like you see these things in kind of movies, like where, oh, well, they won the first 3 games. They probably got this in the bag. Then all of a sudden, oh no, they're tied and it's in the last game and it's this final showdown. I mean, it played out so well, and it was so exciting, I think, for both sides at the end. Obviously, someone had to walk away disappointing, but it was just fun to watch because we legitimately didn't know, okay, who was going to come out of this. And I think that excitement was something that we definitely needed, especially this year.
Right, like you said, an exciting part of history to be alive for.
Yeah, I think it's good to kind of like the contrast because, especially going back, I mean, the Royals were a little bit of an underdog, hadn't won in a while last year, but going back with the Giants in 2014 when it was their 3rd time in 5 years, and Madison Bumgarner goes out there and pitches probably the best World Series ever, and having that is just like sustained greatness versus like the Cubs coming up and being the underdog for so long and having not won. And I think that might have been like the most fulfilling part was just like seeing the videos on social media of like the 80-year-old people that hadn't seen like the Cubs win ever, or the people going to like watch the game go listen to the game at the grave like their parents that just like never got to see a Cubs World Series. So I think that it's definitely more fulfilling to see the underdog come through than seeing the same team just win over and over.
Right. I think my favorite thing probably to come out of this whole thing is Will Ferrell's impression of Harry Carey coming back. He's on Jimmy Kimmel show.
I thought the Budweiser having the commercial with Harry Carey right afterwards. I mean that definitely hit right here. Watching that afterwards. So I mean, and I had no stake in the game, so I can only imagine how people in Chicago must have felt.
Right.
So
Awesome. Well, with that, we'll move to a quick commercial break. But coming up after the break, probably the biggest debate topic in Commotion history. Coming up next.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back. Donald Trump is officially our President of the United States. So, panelists, take it away. What were your thoughts? James, we're going to start with you.
So back last September when we first started Commotion, the very first topic we had was on Donald Trump running in the race. And luckily being one of the panelists, I was able to go back and see what I thought about all this 14 months ago. And I said, and I quote, if you think about a lot of the things that he says as a whole, I think he makes a lot of good points. If it comes down to him, I think I would vote for Trump. I definitely vote for Trump over the Democratic candidates. And if you look at his beliefs, they're definitely something I could go for and agree with. He said a few things since then that maybe wouldn't fully encompass that, what I think. But I just think that I actually was shocked by how much I was behind him in the beginning. And I think that him winning, along with the Republicans winning the majority in the Senate and the House, is going to be a good thing. It's going to be a good thing overall. I think that's going to get the government moving again. I think that it's kind of been a standstill with the gridlock between the House and the Senate and the presidency, with the Republicans not wanting to do anything with Barack Obama in office. So I think that with President Trump in office, with elephant sitting in the White House, I think that it'll finally get Congress doing things, and that we'll be able to go out there and the party will be able to do what it wants to do and pass things that fit and where things that really need to be fixed and changed in this country.
All right. Tink, making some hesitant faces behind you there, James. Tink, what are your thoughts?
He brings up the fact that they didn't do anything, and now all of a sudden Trump's here, and let's see how big a mess Republicans actually can make. They didn't want to do anything for the last 8 years, and they just basically stood there like a statue and just watched as people wanted change. Obama wanted to push change, but here we are with the statue just standing there doing absolutely nothing and just making Democrats look bad. So let's see what they do. Let's see how bad they can screw up. And that's just my thoughts on this.
I just
right,
think
Caitlin.
we have unopened a sleeping giant in our country that we have no idea yet, because we've talked about the government aspect of this, but we have not talked about the immediate backlash that has happened after Trump got elected. I mean, just between the election night and tonight, there has been so many hate crimes. There are people burning gay pride flags in Rochester. There was a black baby doll being hung by a noose in an elevator in Canisius College. In upstate New York, in a town where I was from, there was a swastika with "Make America White Again" spray painted on the dugout. In Philadelphia, there was graffiti that said "Black lives don't matter and neither do your votes." There was a Jewish-owned shop that was spray painted with a swastika with Sieg Heil 2016. And I entirely understand that not every Donald Trump supporter is racist and misogynistic and xenophobic. But by electing this man into office, we have given the racists and the misogynists and the xenophobes complete open. We've told them, we have elected a man that you support, and so your ideas are okay. We've had people wearing hijabs who've had their hijabs yanked off of them in grocery stores. We've had Muslim women get attacked on countless college campuses over the past 2 days. And I just think it's incredibly sad that we are going from the nation's first black president to a man who is openly endorsed by the KKK. An Al-Qaeda member, I read on The Guardian, which is a British news site, an Al-Qaeda member has said that they have congratulated Trump on his victory. Kim Jong-un endorsed Donald Trump. And it's just, I'm extremely disappointed in our country because of how hateful we seem to be. I thought we were a lot less hateful than this, and it's extremely sad that this is what we're going for.
Do you think he will look to acknowledge all of these things that are happening so far?
I sincerely hope so, but I hope for the best but expect the worst at this point, because we need to be honest. He's the one that said, let's ban all Muslims. He's the one that said illegal immigrants are all rapists. He's the one that has been using this dehumanizing language, and his supporters have been saying things like this forever, and he has never told them this is not what I'm about. And I'm extremely disappointed that he hasn't said anything. I think it's hilarious that he can constantly be on Twitter throughout the entire election period, but the exact moment that people start doing these hate crimes and all that, he's not saying anything, because these are Trump supporters that are doing this. They're not all Trump supporters. I completely understand that all Trump supporters are not doing this, but these people who are doing this are Trump supporters.
Yeah, and that's completely just gloss over the fact that in the protests in New York City last night, there were caricatures of Donald Trump being burned and hanged, and people burning the American flag. Because all Hillary supporters are all just angels, and they don't do anything wrong.
Did I say that was okay, James? Did I say that was okay?
But really,
I am not condoning what they did.
But really,
the matter of fact is, those were people doing things in effigy. It's wrong what they did, but these are real people being attacked with real lives. People are genuinely scared for their lives because of this man.
I think that what he's going for is going to be better for our country. I think that we need stronger border security. I think that we definitely need to stop letting illegal immigrants into this country and taking all the benefits that we give them. I think that we definitely need to repeal and replace Obamacare. I think that there's a lot of things that Donald Trump stands for, that the Republican Party stands for, that definitely need to be done to this country right now. I think that our country really needs it at this moment.
I very disagree, because I read his first 100 days, what he wants to do.
I read it too, yeah.
And his whole idea of shopping for health care, that doesn't work. That's what we had before. Mm-hmm. And essentially shopping for health care on a state lines, it's not regulating the pharmaceutical companies' prices of medication. So these cancer medications and these EpiPens and these insulins, the pharmaceutical companies can be in bed with the insurance companies, and no one's going to regulate the prices of that. And as a matter of fact, he wants to put money into our infrastructure, and that's great, but the way he wants to do that is to take billions out of the Paris Climate Accords, and he wants to lift the bans on fracking. And scientists have proven all of the earthquakes in Oklahoma going on right now are from fracking. They're saying that they have completely changed the tectonic plates under this state. They have done such irreversible damage. He is playing around with our environment, and it's not funny. And as a matter of fact, it's insane what he's doing, and I understand some of his points. I get, we do need more infrastructure, and we do need to fix Obamacare, but we don't need to completely replace it.
We need to replace Obamacare.
No, we don't.
And you think private health care is going to matter more?
I think that it's a better system. I think that the current Obamacare system screws over working people, and I think that you can't just like keep on going out there and just trying to go out there and promote yourself just to the bottom people at the bottom of the barrel. I think you've got to.
He had a universal option that was everyone, and you know who gutted it? The Republicans. What we have now is because of the Republicans who voted in Congress. He had a far more universal option.
Yeah, I think that there was no problem with the way our health care system was working before.
People were being kicked out into hospitals because they didn't have insurances. People were dying because they couldn't afford their medications before. But did you just shrug?
That's their problem.
Are you shitting me?
That's their problem.
That is not their problem. People cannot help when they have a chronic illness. They cannot help that they need to buy those medications. If you can't afford a life-saving medication, that is not your fault. You shouldn't have to be punished with your life because you can't afford a medication.
I'm happy with the result of the election. I think that there's a lot of people that just going around campus right now. If you were going around, like people are just like, people are almost like treating it like it was like a post like 9/11 thing. Like there's like everything was like zombies, and I just don't understand.
Because people are scared of what this is going to do to them.
And I don't know why.
Because you're a white heterosexual man. This doesn't affect you.
This is fun. And who I also like that. Looking back. The fact that Trump was able to win, I think that it was interesting looking ahead at. I think people underestimated the strategies that not even just Trump, but his team. I think that Kellyanne Conway came in. I think is really kind of the underrated MVP of this whole campaign. I just think that Hillary completely just neglecting all these Midwest states and just assuming that they had it in the bag, and that the Trump team just being able to go in there and understand what they needed. I mean, I think that Trump won this election because they just had the better strategy, I think, and that he's the president of the United States, so we'll see what those people can do in the White House and see where we are in 4 years.
All right. Well, the only thing we can do is hopefully have an optimistic look going forward. Tink, is there any little last comment you wanted to make before we wrap up?
I mean, I think that ultimately this shows that the country wants change, but there's kind of a part of me that feels that Republicans aren't going to bring that about. I mean, I've already heard things about Rudy Giuliani and Newt Gingrich and Trump's thing. So, I mean, at least we've learned that the Republicans care about our environment a little bit enough to recycle.
Okay. Well, excellent. Panelists, thank you for bringing the heat on that last debate. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. All three panelists did a wonderful job discussing and debating, but only one going to be declared the winner. And for bringing the most fire and emotion to the last debate, I have to give it to Kate. Congratulations. Now you get to talk about anything you want for the last 30 seconds of the show. But first, be sure to tune in to cable channel 12 to watch Commotion and other Cardinal television programs. I'm your host, Chris Murray. Take it away, Caitlin.
I just think, given this current political climate that we're in and the crimes that have been doing that I mentioned, I think it's important to mention that we need to recognize that if you are a woman or a member of the LGBT community, if you have a disability or a chronic illness, if you're Muslim, if you're black, if you're any minority, that despite what our country wants you to believe, you still matter and you still deserve safety and happiness within the borders of this country, no matter what this man who is president or his supporters say.